right. Welcome back to WMMA Scene Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson, and welcome to the WMMA Scene Report, weekly podcast where we go over the latest in MMA news, fight results, fight announcements, and we usually do a little bit of preview of the upcoming weekend and usually have a little bit of stuff to talk about, which we will tonight. So this is a new time for us tonight. It's going to be like this for the next 5 or so weeks. I got usually we're on Wednesdays, but my schedule has changed, so we're going to be doing the show on Tuesday night, but at the regular time of 8:30, 8:35. Before we get into the news, let's go over some of the results from last week. Or the last 2 weeks, really, because this is the first show in 2 weeks. At 1, Dreams of Gold, this was Friday the 16th. Stamp Fairtex defeated Asha Roka via submission due to rear naked choke at 1 minute and 29 seconds, round 3. Stamp Fairtex moved to 2-0. Asha Roka fell to 4-1. This was just a straight-up shellacking by Stamp Fairtex. Asha Roka, they brought her in presumably to lose to their little star, but maybe possibly give her a bit of a challenge. And Roka didn't even do that much. It was just a shellacking from the first all the way through pretty much the entire fight. Next up at UFC 241, Sabina Mazo defeated Shannon Dobson via unanimous decision at flyweight. This was the perfect bounce-back fight for Sabina Mazo after getting beat by Marina Moroz. They found a fighter in Dobson who basically did exactly what Mazo wanted her to do, which was stay on the outside and allow Mazo to tee off, which is pretty much what Mazo did. Probably Dobson's last fight in the UFC. She was really like a holdover from the Ultimate Fighter season that introduced the flyweights. She's now 3-3. I don't see her sticking around much. If they do, it's just to give someone else a win. Next up at strawweight was Hannah Cifers defeated Jodie Esquibel via unanimous decision. Cifers climbed to 10-3. Esquibel fell to 6-6. If you were to tell me that this is not going to be Esquibel's swan song in the UFC, I'd be very amazed and surprised. Cifers just did everything better out there. I think she's younger, she's faster, she hits harder, and Esquibel is like one of these like super short fighters who thinks that it's okay to be an outfighter when you're that short. I don't know what they're doing down there at Jackson's that they're not trying to correct this with her. I don't think she's getting the best coaching down there, honestly. I mean, that's not necessarily a crack on Jackson's camp. I just think she is not getting the best coaching down there specifically for her. That was it for ladies on that card. Yep. And then Ryzen 18, there was 3 fights. First up, all of them were at super atom weight, 108 pounds. First up, Aishimizu defeated Tabitha Ann Watkins by a unanimous decision. Okay, the ref sucked for this fight because in the first round, I think it was the first round, Watkins had her in an armbar and Shimizu tapped and he totally missed it. And the fight kept on going on. And really, it should have been over there. But I got to give credit to Aishimizu. She landed some really nice ground and pound on Watkins. Watkins was just too content to stay on her back and work for submissions, even if they weren't going in, other than at armbar. I think she did an all right job, though. I think she's one of those they wanted, again, is one of those situations where the promotion brought in a certain type of fighter that would lose to someone that they're trying to build up. Aishimizu is with the Crazy Bee gym, and Ryzen is really trying to push everything Crazy Bee. Ursin Yamamoto, Miyu Yamamoto, nephew and sister of the late Kid Yamamoto. Yusuke Yachi is a Crazy Bee fighter. Horiguchi is a former Crazy Bee fighter. He's really ATT now. And then Aishimizu, they're calling her Princess Bee. So that's really it for that. Next up, Kana Asakura defeated Alicia Zapatella due to split decision. I'm surprised the judge saw it for Zapatella. I thought she did good. I thought she did well. I thought she did the best when she was decided to wrestle with Kana Sakura, because Asakura really wasn't stopping her takedowns and really wasn't doing much on the ground. I think Zapatella is a superior wrestler to Kana Sakura. However, I will give Kana Sakura full credit because she really upped her striking. Huge improvements as far as her striking goes. And she must have watched Zapatella's last fight between her and Viviana Pereira, because Asakura was able to use kicks and a really nice jab to keep Zapatella outside on the outside. Huge improvement by Asakura, standing wise. And in the last fight, ladies fight on this card, I haven't even watched this fight yet. It didn't last very long. Ayaka Hamasaki defeated Suanam Boonsorn via submission due to armbar at 3 minutes, 29 seconds of round 1. Hamasaki climbed to 19-2. Boonsorn fell to 3-2. There was really no surprise with the result here. Everybody knew what it was going to come down to. It was a gimme fight. And then this past Friday, Combate Americas had a ladies fight. Lupita Gordinez defeated Felicia Magayan via unanimous decision. Gordinez climbed to 3-0. Magayan fell to 1-1. This is a pretty good fight. Magayan tried to keep Gordinez at the end of her range. Wasn't as effective enough at it. Gordinez really kept on coming in on the inside and beating her up. And then in the last round, in the last closing seconds, Gordinez got a knockdown that probably should have finished her, but the bell sounded and really saved Magayan from losing via knockout or technical knockout. Instead, she lost via unanimous decision. And then finally, Bellator 225. This was this was an awesome card. I watched every fight. They really had to drag this event out to make it fill the full-time slot. 14 fights, 14 finishes. Only one ladies fight. It was the second to last fight of the evening at 135 pounds. So a rare bantamweight fight for Bellator. Alejandra Lara defeated Taylor Turner via TKO due to ground and pound at 3 minutes, 44 seconds of round 1. Lara climbed to 8-3. Turner fell to 4-6. I mean, it was just all Lara in this fight. That's really all you need to know. It was just all Lara. She really got to do whatever she wanted in it. She looked really good in the fight, too. All right, so that was it for fight reviews for the past week, or 2 weeks, rather. Now to go over some news. Surprisingly, a very slow 2 weeks of fight news and announcements. All right, first up, at bantamweight, Amanda Nunes, 18-4, will defend her bantamweight title against Jermaine Darandami, 9-3, at UFC 245, December 14th, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Makes perfect sense to me. I mean, Darandami is number 1 or 2 in the division. She should be number 1. The last time they did fight before, it was back in, I think, 2011. Not that many fights ago for Darandami, but she has made a lot of improvements. And I'm very intrigued to see if Nunes will try to stand with her this time, or if she's going to go and try to take her to the ground again like she did in the first fight. Now, if Nunes takes her to the ground, then I don't see a problem with her winning the fight. But if she tries to stand, Darandami could give her a lot of trouble standing. At flyweight, Molly McCann, 9-2, versus Diana Belbita, 13-4, is added to UFC on ESPN 6 on October 18th in Boston, Massachusetts. This is going to be Belbita's UFC debut. I'm not that familiar with Belbita, but from what others have told me, we could be looking at a Molly McCann genuine winning streak in the UFC. If she wins this, she'll have 3 in a row. That's a genuine win streak. Did not see that coming. We'll see what Belbita brings to the cage against her. It'll be very interesting to see. McCann did show a lot of improvement in her last 2 fights. Not against the greatest of opposition now. All right, next up, Mexican Rising veteran Sarai Orozco, 4-3, announced via Instagram that she has signed with Combate Americas, making her debut on September 27th. Opponent to be announced. So I believe Orozco ended up fighting the late replacement Kanako Murata and losing kind of badly. Before that, I did watch her fight in Lux Fight League down in Mexico. I liked what I saw from her there. We'll see what Combate Americas does for her. Deep Jewels, the Japanese all-ladies promotion, has announced a headliner for their 26th event on 22nd October will be an atomweight title fight between current champ Tomomi Aisawa, 12-10, and challenger Emi Tomomatsu, 15-14. So Tomomi Aisawa has lost her last 2, but they were both outside of the atomweight division. She lost to Kana Sakura at super atomweight in Deep Jewels, and then she most recently lost last month to Hamsahi in Ryzen at super atomweight. She is still the Deep Jewels atomweight champ, however. Now, Emi Tomomatsu, I believe, is coming off of a win. Before that, she lost a couple of fights. So, you know, Deep Jewels, their roster isn't that deep. And a lot of the fighters will fight each other over and over and over again. Not just in Deep Jewels, but throughout like all of JMMA. So you'll see a lot of them, the fighters that have been fighting for a while, are going to have either super stacked records or they're going to be super journeyman-ish records. I mean, Maisa was 12-10, Tomomatsu's 15-14. They're both just above 500 records, but that's because they fight a lot of the same fighters. And one thing I really hate about JMMA, and you'll see this in Korea too sometimes, because I focused a lot on Asia. They just feed the young fighters to the veterans to pad the veterans' records, and it's not always a good look, because it really just takes your young fighters that are just starting out, and it gives them crappy records. Anyway, moving along. Oh, speaking of Korean promotions, Upstart Korean Promotion, KMPC, I believe that stands for Korean Mixed Martial Arts something. I forget what it is already. Anyway, they have announced a ladies catchweight bout for their first event, September 7th. Jay Che, 2-2, will be taking on Hyerin Kwan, 1-3. So Jay Che has been fighting at atomweight. Kwan has fought, I believe, at strawweight, and I think her last fight was at flyweight. So I'm hoping it's more towards atomweight. Jay Che is a small fighter. She doesn't need to be fighting anywhere close to flyweight. After that, at flyweight, Nicole Zepesveri, 2-1, versus Chelsea Hackett, 1-0-1, has been announced for Eternal MMA 48 on 4th October in Melbourne, Australia. Then after that, One Championship has finalized 4 women's bouts for 1 century, October 13th at the Ryogoku Kokugikan. Try saying that 5 times fast. In Tokyo. So what One Championship is doing, there's going to be 2 events, one ladies bout on the evening card, but the morning card that's going to be in the morning in Japan will feature 3 bouts. For the morning card is going to be all of them at 115 pounds. And in MMA, Mei Yamaguchi, 20-11-1 versus Jenny Huang, 5-4, in a rematch that honestly, nobody's asked for this. Nobody's asked for this rematch. Maybe Jenny Huang, but I don't imagine anybody else asked for this. Jenny Huang, I didn't even know she was still with One Championship. Last I knew she was taking pro Muay Thai fights in Thailand to work on her striking. So hopefully that works out for her. She's on a 4-fight losing streak right now. So this is probably a good chance, just about to get Yamaguchi a win on home soil. Oh, I'm sorry. That fight is on the evening card. Apologies. And then for the morning card, 3 bouts. 2 MMA, 1 Muay Thai. First up in MMA, Itsuki Hirata, 4-0, versus Rika Ishige, 4-3. That should be an interesting bout. Hirata seems a possible contender on the rise. Ishige is kind of middling. Very cute, though, so she brings hopefully she'll bring some eyes to the event. At Muay Thai, Janet Todd versus Ekaterina Vanzant. Todd was, I believe, the first to fight for the Muay Thai title in one at women's atomweight against Stamp Fairtex. Since then, she has picked up a win in kickboxing, I believe, against Kai Ting Chuan, and now she'll be taking on Vanzant, who is making her debut for one championship. And then finally, the main event of the morning show is going to be at 115 pounds MMA. It's Angela Lee, 9-2, versus the challenger, Jingnan Xiong, 14-1. I did do a full preview on this one. I posted it Sunday. It's up on the channel. You can go ahead and check it out. If I can remember to, I'll post a link in the description down below after this. 2 last news items. Or excuse me, there's three news items real quick here. Okay, first up, in the UFC, this was posted by Marcel Dorf on Twitter. That's at BigMarcel24. Duda Santana will fight Leah Letson at UFC Fight Night 164 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's going to be 16 November. And this is per Canal Combate. A few other very reliable accounts. And that looks like a featherweight bout. Santana, I believe, is coming off a loss to Bea Malecki. Letson, I can't remember her last fight. I believe it was a win, though. And then Minna Grusender did an article, took part in an interview. She's the former Invicta 2-time atomweight title challenger. She's on the poster back there right behind me, and caddy corner to that one. She announced in that interview that she will be moving up to the strawweight division to fight for Invicta. And she's looking to make a return either December or early 2020. She has been out all of this year pretty much so far because of torn LCL in her leg. So wishing her the best of luck on her continued recovery there. And then finally, Invicta Championship announced a couple changes to the Phoenix Series 2 lineup. Sherry Muraski and Marilia Santos are out, and in for them will be Invicta veteran and recent Contender Series combatant Shanna Young, 6-2, and Invicta FC 36 Fight of the Night winner Victoria Leonardo, 6-1. Very excited to have Leonardo in that tournament. She is a finisher. She goes for the finish every time. Super excited that she's going to be taking part in the Phoenix Series 2. She goes for the finish, and I believe that could definitely help her out in that. Also, they announced a few more fights. A flyweight bout between Josie Stortz, 1-0, versus Helen Lucero, making her pro debut. 2 reserve bouts. First up, Kay Hansen, 4-3. She was the co-main event for the first Phoenix Series in a non-tournament bout. She'll be taking part in the first reserve bout versus an opponent to be decided. And then reserve bout number 1 is going to be between Chantel Coates, who is 1-1, and Flora Hani, 1-1, making her Invicta debut. Of course, the co-main event is the previously announced Alexa Connors, 5-3, versus Maria Agapova, 6-1, who was a recent fighter on Dana White's Contender Series as well. And that is it for the news. Next up, so we're actually going to skip the rankings update this week. There's no changes from last week, and there were very little changes between the week before and last week. So we're going to skip what I like to call the weekly UFC rankings updates. Instead, we're going to move on to a little segment I like to call Welcome to the Scene. It's where I welcome some of the newest named subscribers. So welcome Noi Obias, Chaz Boateng, and Zeke Lilly. Guys, welcome to the scene. Next up, we'll discuss the upcoming events for this weekend. UFC Shenzhen is obviously the big one, and I'm going to save that for last. First up is Deep Jewels 25. This is taking place Sunday. It's saying 5 a.m. Eastern time. That's kind of late for Deep Jewels. I like it. I might actually be up at the time. I might be able to wake up for it. First up is a kickboxing bout between Izumi Noguchi and Pan Hui. Not really worried about kickboxing. At 97 pounds MMA, really tiny chicks. It's going to be, hit the wrong button. No, that's the wrong one too. Momoko Yamazaki 1-1 versus Mizuki Oshiro 0-1. I'm going with Yamazaki on this one. She has more experience. I think that she's going to continue to get built up. Next up at atomweight, Hikaru Ono 4-2 versus Mayuki Furusawa. I don't remember watching Furusawa in any fights. However, Hikaru Ono is a very nice wrestler, grappler, very strong. She's coming off a loss to. She's coming off a win over Mikiko Hiyama at Deep Jewels 24, which was a bit of a recovery bout. Before that, she was coming off a loss to Emito Matsu, which is no shame there. Next up, at 112 pounds, so a catchweight bout, Nanaka Kawamura versus Otoha Nagao. Kawamura is 2-4. Nagao is 1-0. Kawamura is a member of that idol group, the Mask Girls or something. She comes out wearing a Jason mask, waving around a lighted up fake chainsaw, swinging that around like Jason or something. She is I think this is going to be like a bit of a bounce back fight for her, although I'm curious why it's at 112. Really, she's definitely more of an atom weight. But yeah, I think it's going to be Kawamura in this one. Next up is a main card, they're all main card bouts. A featherweight fight between Mayumi Aoki, 6-9, taking on Mao Ueda, 0-1. Now, Aoki has been fighting off and on since 2006. Mostly off. She took off 2011. Took some fights in 2012. Okay, so this is her first fight since 2012. MMA, as far as MMA goes, she is coming off a loss to Rin Nakai. She was 6-8 at the time. Nakai was 11-0-1. But she is 39 years old, 5'2", very short for featherweight. Really, she's coming up from bantamweight. She's taking on Mao Ueda, who is 0-1 and is coming off a loss to Reina Miura. You know what? I'm going to flip a coin here. We'll go with Ueda by youth. But I wouldn't be surprised by an Aoki win. And then finally, in the main event, is Shizuka Sugiyama, 17-6-1, taking on Asami Nakai, a.k.a. Akaringo, 3-1. I'm going with Sugiyama to win this one. Nakai, however, does seem like a prospect. That's the right word I'm looking for, prospect in the sport. Definitely keep an eye on her, though. But we'll go with Sugiyama by being far more experienced. All right. So next up is UFC Shenzhen, aka UFC on ESPN Plus 15, or Andrade versus Zan. All right. First up is a ladies' bout at bantamweight between Carol Rosa, 11-3, versus Lara Procopio, 6-0. Now, Procopio is a training partner of Jessica Andrade. Or no, I think Rosa is the fighter, is the training partner of Andrade. But, I haven't seen either of these two really fight. But, man, Rosa's record, not impressed by it at all. Her last win looks okay, 8-2. But before that, she beat a 1-0 fighter. And before that, she lost to Melissa Gatto, who was 5-0-2. That was last year. Looking at Procopio, she actually has some better opponents on her record. Started off, typical fighting people of similar records. But her last couple ones, she was 3-0. She beat a fighter, Myra Cantuaria, who's 3-2-1 at the time. That was in 2017. Last year, she beat Mariana Moraes in her 5th fight. Moraes was 12-6 at the time. And then she is coming off a win over Citi Roca a year ago. And Roca was 9-4-2. I'm going with Procopio on this one. Yeah, we'll go with Procopio on that. Just better wins overall. Fortunately, I don't really know much about either of them to really make a guess. So got to just look at the records sometimes. Next up at flyweight, Yanan Wu, 10-2, taking on the UFC debutante Mizuki Inoue, 13-5. Mizuki coming in on somewhat late notice. She is moving up from strawweight, which she's had trouble making strawweight lately, so no surprise about the change in weight class. And it works. I think it'll work out for her. Yanan Wu looked very good against Lauren Mahler earlier this year or late last year. However, she seems to do best on the ground, which is where Inoue is a bit of an ace at. I see Inoue could have trouble moving up in weight. Now she is taking on Yanan Wu, who is a former bantamweight outside the UFC. She was bantamweight outside the UFC. She came in the UFC, took a loss to Gina Mazzani, and then moved down to flyweight, where she's found some more success. I'm going with Inoue on this one. Just more overall experience, fight experience. Definitely more experience against some higher level opponents. And I just think that where the parts where Yanan Wu does best at, Inoue really excels at. And then finally, the main event, strawweight title fight, Jessica Andrade, 20-6, taking on Weili Zhang, 19-1. Now, I did do a full preview on this. You can go check that out on the channel. It's up there and available. I went with Andrade on this, but man, it was such a hard decision, and I'm still racking my brain over this. This is a tough fight to call. I mean, it was really tough. I went with Andrade just being the sitting champion. But there's a lot of factors going in this fight. They're both so athletic. Both are strong. I think Zhang is the faster fighter. Andrade is predictable, but Zhang is definitely hittable. Zhang is the more well-rounded, but Andrade is just like an unstoppable force. She's the juggernaut of the division. She's the juggernaut, bitch. Showing my age there. Bring that one up. So I did go with Andrade. I'm going to stick with it. I would not be disappointed to be wrong now. In fact, I'd probably be happy to be proved wrong. I like Weili Zhang. So I would not be disappointed to be proven wrong there. So which brings us to a couple of discussion topics. Okay, so we already previewed UFC Shenzhen. And I want to talk about really the main event. So this is the first Chinese title contender in UFC, and the fight's happening in China. I see a lot of speculation about what this could possibly mean for mixed martial arts in China. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know what it could mean. And I don't think anybody living outside of China and living outside the MMA bubble really knows either. Chinese do take to certain sports, but it's mostly sports that offer a lot of like concrete glory, like Olympic sports, sports that are in the Asian games, sports that are really not necessarily like shown on TV all around the world all the time, but sports that are like really well established and that are known, like really sports that are like glory sports. Fight sports, a little bit more kickboxing than MMA from what I understand. But, I mean, who knows? Honestly, if there's a lot of eyes on this fight, I don't know what type of TV deals UFC has in China, but if they get a lot of eyes, it could mean a lot for the sport. It could. But honestly, I don't know. And I don't think anybody else that's talking about it really does either. We just don't know. I mean, Zhang could win, become champ, and the government could just flout her around everywhere and do a big press tour with her and everything. Who knows? We just don't know, honestly. Now, what does this fight mean for the division, the strawweight division in the UFC? Well, if Andrade wins, my opinion is that there's only one fighter that is a shoo-in to beat her, and that would be a rematch against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I think Joanna, even though she has been chinny lately, Joanna had the perfect style and the perfect game plan to beat her, and she could still use that style and that game plan to beat Andrade again. I don't see Andrade beating Joanna. I just think Joanna has her Andrade's number. Now, if Zahn wins, the division is blown wide open. Wide open. And honestly, I thought the division got blown wide open as soon as Namajunas beat Jędrzejczyk for the title. This division is finally going through a lot of changes. Some of them have been organic. Some of them have been kind of like helped along by matchmaking. For a long time, the top 4, top 5 was a very static, very stagnant. Pretty much for like 3-4 years, the top 5 was just almost impossible to break into. It was Joanna, Claudia, Andrade, Carolina, and Namajunas. That was pretty much it for the top 5. And now it is wide open. Now you have Suarez in there. You have Ansarov. You have Zahn. Well, Zahn's not up there yet. Let me bring up the rankings real quick here. So you have Andrade as a champ, Namajunas, Suarez, and Ansarov, and Jędrzejczyk at number 4. That's 5 fighters. And then Gadelha is still hugging at number 5. So still a lot of the same fighters, but Weili Zhang's at number 6. If she wins, she'll obviously be the champ. Even if she doesn't win and puts on a good showing, they could still raise her ranking up. Her stock could still rise with a very good showing in China. Gadelha is about to face Calvillo at number 11. That could definitely be a big change in the rankings if Calvillo gets past Gadelha. Waterson's about to face Jędrzejczyk, 7 versus 4. that could mean big implications depending on how it goes. By the way, I will have the Jacek versus Watterson preview up later this evening, so check that out. So anyway, divisionally, this fight means a lot for this division. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about was Paige Vanzant. So she's been being talked about a lot this week, or so far, at least over the past weekend, because it's only Tuesday. She recently mentioned in an interview that she did with her and her husband that she is now losing money every time she takes a fight. She's actually making more money to post pictures on Instagram, according to her. That's why she is now going to test free agency waters at the end of her contract, which she is currently on her last fight, which has yet to be booked. She's been having trouble with that arm that just won't heal properly and keeps breaking. So, I see a lot of people saying online, well, she's being dumb because, if it weren't for the UFC, she wouldn't have this boost on social media. Well, she's not saying that. She's not even implying that. She's basically saying that all she's saying is that her fight salary is not equaling her value as it is now on social media. Now, does being a fighter boost her popularity? Yeah, definitely. It definitely does. But if she has parlayed her popularity as a fighter enough now that she is making more money on social media, can she stop being a fighter, or can she risk free agency? Yeah, she can definitely risk free agency. UFC might not offer her as much more. She has, I think she's on like a 3-fight losing streak right now, or at least 2. So free agency is definitely going to be a risk for her. I hope she gets some good offers, and that the UFC, if she stays in the UFC, they'll boost her pay. But hey, you know what? I just want to say this. She's found a way to make money outside of fighting. In an era when a lot of fighters complain that there's no sponsorship money, well, guess what? She's making money. She's found other avenues of revenue. And that's what fighters need to be focusing on. Because you know what? Pay in mixed martial arts is shit. It's shit across the board. And the UFC is the biggest organization, and they do pay the most. They pay the most for the biggest names. They pay the most, really, for fighters starting out. It's either 10-10 or 12-12. I forget. It's really shitty. But you know what? That's better than you're going to get in Bellator. It's better than probably you're getting in one championship. Probably better than Ryzen. I don't know. But I really have little to no doubt that at both the bottom levels and the top levels, it's better than fighters are going to get anywhere else. Now, she's in more the mid-level, which is where fighters can find better offers elsewhere, because other promotions are willing to match the UFC, or at least try to match the UFC, so that they can get a fighter with some name recognition. And PVZ is definitely a name with name recognition. Anyway, PVZ is making money outside of fighting now. Good for her. I used to hate her. I couldn't stand her. I still can't stand to listen to her. But I can't hate on a fighter that is making money outside of fighting. Even if it is off the back of fighting, she's still making money outside of directly fighting, which is great. So congrats to PVZ. Anyway, that's it for me for tonight. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit those likes. And hey, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA Now, the best, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time.